coming up from the Northeast Live Studios in Guwahati. Northeast Tonight with Wasbir Hussain.
Hello and welcome to Northeast Tonight, the show that decodes the region. Are legislators in Nagaland cutting across party lines once again, getting ready to push for an early and acceptable solution of the Naga problem? Well, we don't know yet, but the budget session of the Nagaland Assembly that begins tomorrow, Friday, is scheduled to devote a full day for discussion on the ongoing Naga peace talks. Now the question is, will the Nagaland State Assembly adopt a fresh resolution on the Naga political issue? And if so, what could be the thrust of such a resolution? Well, the Nagaland Assembly had adopted resolutions at least 5 times in the past. On December 12, 1964, 28th of August 1970, 16th of September 1994, 18th of December 2003, and September 28, 2018, every time demanding integration of contiguous Naga inhabited areas under one administrative umbrella and urging the centre to fulfill the same. The 2018 resolution was moved by Chief Minister Nephew Rio and was backed by all parties including the BJP, which is part of the NDPP-led ruling alliance. The big question now is, has things changed since 2018? Has the centre told the stakeholders, including the Nagaland government, that integration of Naga areas in the region under one administrative setup was not possible? We don't know. What is definitely under the scanner is the stand of the NSC and IM that there can be no solution unless its demand for a separate flag and constitution for the Nagas is fulfilled by the government. Will the legislators or will the State Assembly come out with a clear stand on the issue of flag and constitution? And then there is the issue of the tough-talking State Governor R.N. Ravi, who is also New Delhi's interlocutor for the Naga peace talks, who said in his Republic Day address that the Naga issue was not getting resolved due to what he said, the unrealistic intransigence of some people. Many see this as a reference to the NSC and IM, but there is no clarification as to who the governor referred to by this. To discuss the subject, I am joined by an eminent panel tonight. I have with me ruling NDPP leader Toshi Wungtong, an advisor in the government. Also with me is the opposition NPF spokesman, Mr. Yitachu. Also joining me is Nagaland BJP spokesman, Mr. Mmhonlumo Kikon. Also with me is Mr. Therie, the president of the Nagaland Pradesh Congress Committee. And joining me from Shillong is Dr. Xavier, professor at NEHU and a well-known commentator. Gentlemen, welcome to Northeast Tonight. Let me first go to you, Mr. Toshi Wungtong, leader of the ruling NDPP. Mr. Toshi Wungtong, what do you think is the Assembly going to discuss? Are the legislators in the mood to adopt a fresh resolution on the Naga peace issue? Because already 5 resolutions have been taken or have been adopted by the Nagaland Assembly so far since 1964. Mr. Wungtong.
Thank you. The present ruling dispensation, that is People's Democratic Alliance, PDA, continues to pursue on the popular demand for an early Naga political solution, for which the present government had a consultative meeting on the Indo-Naga political issue on the 15th of October, that is last year, 2020, and we have passed resolutions reiterating for an early Naga solution. Several resolutions were passed appreciating and supporting the process, where we have appreciated the government of India for recognizing the unique history of the Nagas and also a settlement, mutually agreeable solution, mutually honorable solution between the government of India and then the negotiating groups. We have also appreciated all these Naga nationalists who have fought all these years, who have stood up for the rights of the Nagas. At the same time, we have also appreciated the various civil societies, stakeholders from the grassroots, also particularly led by the church workers, the tribal bodies, who have left no stone unturned to reach out to every corner of the state, every corner of the society, for one solution was one family. We are scattered in 2 countries, into India and Myanmar, and in India and the various states. And we have called for a voice in India, one solution as a family for the entire Nagas. And for which we continue to reiterate and call upon all the groups to come together united under one banner. And the government of India, if you look at the history in the 50s and 60s, there's also a groundbreaking U-turn. If you look at the stand of the prime ministers, namely Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, also Morarji Desai, the stand that they took was rather very, I would not like to use the word radical, but very uncompromising and very hard. And not much of space and quarter was given to the Naga political groups or Naga political workers. But if you look at the present Prime Minister and the Home Minister, there's a groundbreaking U-turn where they have said they are ready to go to any extent to negotiate to whatever is possible and whatever is not possible, whether it is the constitution or the flag. They have expressed the honor and respect for the Naga people for the stand. And that also they've expressed the political will that what is not possible now should be left to the future discourse in a democratic and peaceful manner.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Mr. Toshi Wungtong, for a very comprehensive opening remark. Basically, the NDPP leader is saying that they will press for one solution and therefore they are appealing to the various Naga political groups to unite and present their case so that we can have, the Nagas can have one solution. At the end of the day, it has been a very complex problem. Let me come to you, Mr. Yitachu, the opposition NPF spokesman, the main opposition party in Nagaland. Mr. Yitachu, your party, the Naga People's Front, has been in the forefront because you have your political affairs mission has been going around meeting all shades of opinion, whether it is among the Naga political groups and outside, trying to contribute in your own way to a peaceful solution. But my question is, in this budget session, what will be the role of the MLAs? What will be the role of your party? Are you going to adopt a fresh resolution? And if so, what will be the focus?
Good evening, Mr. Wasbir.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me on this show. Yes, MPF has been very much in the forefront. And for MPF, it is a very consistent stand. Whether we're in the ruling or in the opposition, it doesn't give any change of stand. All our focus is to bring about solution, and the party has demonstrated, not just by words, but even in action. So our main focus is that a solution that should be inclusive and everybody should be brought on board when the solution takes place. Now, on this basis, on this foundation, the party has been working, and the government of India and various Naga political groups, they were having dialogues. So we as elected members, as a political party, we being facilitators to bring about solution. All that we can do is to bring about the Naga negotiating group into one common understanding, because we believe that there will be only one solution and there cannot be piecemeal solution or different kind of solution with different groups. Therefore, when the enthusiasm has come about from every corner, we believe that everybody should be brought in, and our mission is in meeting with different groups who are with the dialogue with the government of India to sit across the table to understand each other's so that they can come to know the differences themselves also. At the same time, they can have a united view about the solution with the government of India. So this is the main focus of the MPF party. The MPF party, through this PAM mission, we have been meeting various political groups. On the other hand, we have also asked the PDA ruling dispensation to call a separate session for the assembly to discuss on this Naga political issue. We have been asking them, but they are not taking the call on it. This time, they have summoned the budget session. And taking advantage of this budget session, we have asked them to discuss the Naga political issue in the assembly, and we'll see how things will take place in the assembly.
All right. All right. The Chief Minister, Mr. Nafurio, has very categorically told journalists, including our channel, that the budget session will discuss the Naga peace issue, and that is a welcome development. We'll wait and watch. We'll cover this very closely. Let me tell you, viewers, this particular show, our show is live on Facebook, and a lot of people in Nagaland and outside are watching the show at this point in time. We have representatives from all the 4 major political parties tonight, which is a very good sign, because this is an issue that actually transcends political parties, that transcends politics, and this is an issue concerning the future of the Naga people. And this is not a party-related issue, but since they are the lawmakers, their views count. There is the budget session which is going to discuss the Naga political issue, and it's extremely critical for viewers to hear the views of the eminent representatives of these political parties. Let me turn to you, Mr. K. Therie, the president of the Nagaland Pradesh Congress Committee, the Nagaland Congress president. Welcome, Mr. Therie, to the show. You know, the Congress has been a dominant player until a few years ago. But in the last couple of years, the Congress has been rather quiet. Now, what is your stand? What do you think the Assembly budget session discussion is going to achieve? And first of all, very briefly, what is your party's stand on the latest as far as the Naga peace process is concerned?
Well, thank you. As the negotiation is in between the parties of Naga National Workers and Government of India, I don't think we have much to intervene. But what we are meant to understand in the present situation is that the negotiations for Nagas of Nagaland is over and there is nothing more to talk. That is what the interlocutor has conveyed to the people of Nagaland. And the state government is saying that solutions should be inclusive. Therefore, we should await that Muiva and his NNC and IM group should accept the solution. Now, for the Congress, we want that the solution for the Nagas of Nagaland should be implemented immediately when there is nothing more to talk about Nagas of Nagaland. The remaining pending things which are with other neighboring states, including Manipur or Arunachal, Assam, I think these are no more related to Nagaland because the issue of integration and sovereignty has been dropped in the framework agreement. They're talking about flag, constitution, and pen Nagahoho. But this has been rejected by Congress Party, Naga tribal hosts, all the tribal organizations. Nagaland GB's Federation. These are the organization which has authority from the people. So the mandate given by the tribal organizations and GB's Federation
Right.
should be respected. And the State Assembly, I think, should not involve neighboring states' problems. It is for them to decide for the Nagas of Nagaland. They represent Nagaland people. They don't represent any other state or the nation. So they should make a resolution that the solution for the Nagas of Nagaland should be implemented immediately. This is our demand and stand. Yeah, hello.
Yes, carry on. I can hear you.
Yeah. So Congress stands to demand that the solution which has been already agreed should be implemented immediately. There's no point why it should be delayed, and we should be kept awaited for the other neighboring states.
Okay.
It's government of India and
Okay.
the other groups to decide.
I get your point. I get your point. Mr. Therie, Congress leader of Nagaland, basically saying that the assembly should discuss the issues concerning the Nagas of Nagaland, and therefore the integration issue should not delay the Naga peace process because that involves Nagas of neighboring states. That is basically what I have understood from what Mr. Therie has said. I will go to Mr. Mmhonlumo Kikon after this, but before I ask Mmhonlumo Kikon to give his point of view, the BJP's point of view, which is an alliance partner of the ruling government in the state, let me come to you an independent view from Dr. Xavier, professor at NEHU and a well-known commentator. Professor Xavier, both the other panelists, both Mr. Toshi Wungtong of the NDPP and Mr. Yitachu of the NPF, they said that they should push for an early solution, for an united solution. They want the Nagas to come up with a united voice because there can be only one solution. But we have seen a rather dramatic difference in the views of the Nagaland Congress. We are aware that every political party is free to have his or its own views. But how do you look at the Congress's view? Because they're saying that the assembly should discuss only issues concerning Nagas of Nagaland, and he indicated that integration should not delay the Naga peace process, and the accord should come as soon as possible because we need not wait, and this kind of issues can be discussed later on. Professor Mao, your independent view, please be brief. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to say I totally disagree with Mr. Yitachu's view. This view is sectarian, narrow-minded, short-sighted, because integration is not something new. It was during the time of Jawaharlal Nehru.
Mr. Yitachu, it was stated. Professor Mao, I think are you talking about Mr. Therie's view?
Yeah.
You are talking about Mr. Therie's view, right? You are commenting on Mr. Therie, not Yitachu.
That's right. I'm contraring that. Yeah. Sorry. That's right.
Yes.
Sorry, I apologize for that.
Yes, carry on.
Therie's view, I consider that is short-sighted, narrow-minded, and exclusive. But the solution should be inclusive, holistic, and after all, the whole Naga struggle is one, not sectarian, not on tribal line, not on geographical line. These are all artificial creation. Therefore, this will never bring about a lasting solution. There should be only one solution, and it should be a united voice, and integration is not at all new.
Okay.
As you have rightly said, 5 times even Nagaland State Assembly had resolved.
Okay.
And
I'll come back to you, Professor Mao. I'll come back to you. Professor Mao. Before I'm going to Mr. Mmhonlumo Kikon, but 20 seconds to you, Mr. Therie. Would you like to respond to what Dr. Mao has said?
Let me just recall what
we are not the
you
participant
had,
in
cited,
the negotiation.
especially
But the
resolution
framework
Mr. Kikon,
agreement
hold your
says
thoughts. Mr. Kikon, hold your thoughts. Yes, Mr. Therie, carry on.
the framework of agreement says that unique history and position of the Nagas, yeah, the
Car-
NNCN has understood. So the unique history is the political movement. The present position means the existing contemporaries, the states, and they have never mentioned any word about integration in the framework agreement.
Therefore,
Neither flag nor
your
concessions.
point, therefore the point you are
Yes.
making. I'll come back to you.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Mmhonlumo Kikon, how you have heard everybody, you have heard the four other eminent panelists. What are your thoughts? What should the assembly deliberate? What should the assembly message go from the legislators tomorrow in the next few days?
let me just recall what
Wasbir, let me just recall what you have mentioned about the resolutions passed in the Nagaland Legislative Assembly. Many resolutions have been passed, but if you recall 2015 onwards, the resolutions had taken a different turn. From the previous resolutions, the 2015 resolution stands different because of one particular factor, which is that there was a Nagaland Legislators Forum because there was a party-less government in the state of Nagaland. Now, till 2017 and 18, all the resolutions have been, for public to view and see. There is one noticeable change. All the resolutions today come towards or has been pushed towards the consultative meeting that we have had on 15 October 2020. Therein, the encapsulation of the will of the people has been articulated by the consultative meeting wherein all the civil society and most of the political parties were present. So the resolution was in response to the government of India's wishes and also the wishes of the people, of the Naga people. The simple resolution was one solution for one people. This encapsulates the will of the present PDA government. Let me get back to the point of why the PDA government has ensured that during this budget discussion and budget session, a matter of urgent importance has been slotted wherein the Naga issue will be discussed and deliberated thoroughly. Whether a resolution will be arrived at remains to be seen because it is yet to be deliberated. Number two, on the issue of the Congress saying, his views about, I have all respect for Mr. K. Therie. With his experience and in politics, I should believe that the Congress has always been myopic and divisive on the Naga political issue. With that stance, there can be no progress and no facilitation by the government of Nagaland. People have rejected Congress in Nagaland state. Therefore, now the PDA government has taken it thus far to ensure that the state government facilitates the peace process towards the proper and acceptable conclusion. Towards that end, let me also add that, as my colleague Dr. Toshi Wungtong has said, the subjects or the matter that Wasbir has raised is being discussed at the highest level. It is not to be. It is not something which can be solved at our show. However, let me just also bring back one particular point which we have all missed in this discussion, which is that the PDA government, by having the consultative meeting of all the civil societies and all the stakeholders, have arrived at one cry for the solution. Number two, the PDA has also ensured that instead of a fragmented approach we have had in 2015 where NPF was in government, where the legislative forum was a platform where every political party participated, perhaps except Congress. That has been continued, and today we expect a certain maturity.
Okay.
And also, we expect our friends in the opposition not to forget what they have started.
All right, all right. Now, I'll come to Mr. Toshi Wungtong and Mr. Yitachu. Let me. I'll go to Mr. Toshi Wungtong. Do you think the time has come for the legislators to rise above party politics? Because this is an issue concerning the future of the Naga people. Would you appeal to your Congress colleague to change the stand? Are you surprised at the Congress stand? Because as Mr. Mmhonlumo Kikon has said, that he has accused the Congress of pursuing a myopic stand. I'll give time to Mr. Therie to respond to that, but Mr. Toshi Wungtong.
Thank you, Mr. Wasbir. As said earlier, we are taking a comprehensive approach for a comprehensive solution. Now, all these past 70 years, pre-independence, after independence, with the history of the Naga movement based on the NNC formation and movement thereof, which has history even during the British Raj and then post-independent India, lessons have taught us whether it is in the context of regional security, internal security, or from the geopolitical point of view. It is an undeniable and a biblical fact, politically speaking, that the Naga issue is to be given a priority, a top priority at the highest level in the country, which is why the highest office in the country has been involved and continues to be so.
Right.
The nodal authority, which is the Home Ministry, is totally involved, totally committed, and the Prime Minister has authorized the Home Ministry to go all out comprehensively for an inclusive solution.
Absolutely.
Because both the Government of India,
right,
the region, and also the Naga state, we have come to this experience that there has to be a solution. That's why this budget session is extremely important. And I would like to agree and disagree with my friend Yitachu colleague. It's not that the PDA was, drawing cold feet and developing cold feet sort of thing. We weren't running away, but we always have been very, absolutely very comprehensive and inclusive, including the PDA, our NPF friends, and also, although didn't have, any representative in the assembly, even the Congress friends, to go together, to come together, work out a common solution. And that's why this assembly, on the 15th perhaps, we will be discussing and initiating a comprehensive discussions on the Indo-Naga political issue for a solution.
So the breaking story.
Our discussions are based on the needs.
Right. Right, I'll elaborate on that, Mr. Wungtong. I'll have to go for a break, but the breaking story at this point is that the Nagaland Assembly is going to discuss the Naga peace issue on the 15th of February. On the 15th of February, the budget session is going to discuss the Naga peace talks. Before I go for a break, Mr. Yitachu, the Chief Minister of Nagaland, Mr. Rio, has made a very significant statement in the last 2 to 3 days. He said that, there is not much of a difference in approach between the ruling party and your party, that is the NPF. At the end of the day, both of you, your party and the ruling alliance, are trying their best to talk to the various people and work out an acceptable solution. Now, my question is, now, why have all of you failed to bring the NSCN-IM and the NNPCs face-to-face across the table negotiations? Why is it not possible so far?
Mr. Wasbir, before I come to your question, the issue is not of Nagaland issue. Nagaland Assembly is for Nagaland State, yes, but the issue that we are confronted is a Naga issue. Therefore, the Naga as a whole, beyond the boundaries of Nagaland, has to be discussed in the Assembly and has to take an inclusive call for solution. The Naga issue needs to be resolved. Now, I want to remind about the upcoming budget session. In 15 December 2017, there has been a strong view that almost every political party and almost every civil societies that solutions should take place and elections should come later. And in this slogan, in this resolution, in this decision by the Naga people, particularly when there has been a counter slogan saying that we have to go for election to bring about solution. And I think that also it makes sense because in a democratic setup, unless there is an authority to hand over the solution, then there will be a vacuum created. So now it is already 3 years, and the party saying that election for solution must now come forward and implement what they have committed to the people.
Okay, that's a very specific.
The people for a right.
Yes, absolutely. Point noted. I'll go for a break. When I come back, I'll ask both Mr. Mmhonlumo Kikon of the BJP and Mr. Toshi Wungtong of the NDPP to explain as to what Mr. Yitachu has asked. I'll request them to respond. And of course, we'll go to Dr. Xavier Mao and Mr. Therie. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back, Mr. Mmhonlumo Kikon. Your party, you are representing the BJP, Mr. Mmhonlumo Kikon. The BJP has lot to answer. Please respond to what Mr. Yitachu has said before we had gone for a break. Mr. Yitachu said, what happened to the promise of that party that they will bring about a solution as soon as they are elected? Now, you are part of the ruling alliance in Nagaland. Your party is in power at the center, at the forefront of this negotiation. What is your explanation to Mr. Yitachu?
It is just expression of somebody having selective memory. Because if you remember in the early 1998, right after the signing of the ceasefire with the NSC and IM, there was a call for banning election. And somebody who has sworn to the Constitution of India in the while getting sworn in the Legislative Assembly, and while contesting, we cannot even rethink those issues that are sacrosanct to the Constitution of India. So if you look at 1998 and if you look at 2018, you will see that the slogan was to ensure that in the past there has been an experiment to boycott election and it has not brought about any solution. So elections being the normal constitutional process, somebody who is elected in the assembly cannot forget about the process that he goes through while one seeking registering with the election commission, second contesting, third when he gets elected he has to be sworn in the assembly. Now all that apart, let me also come back that in comparison to no election but solution, the election for solution is something which is progressive. It has been appreciated now that there has been a proper intent and a serious intent.
Intent is there, but let me, intent is there.
Issues.
Yes, Mmhonlumo Kikon, intent, nobody is denying the intent, but let me go to you, Mr. Toshi Wungtong. I'm coming to you, Mr. Therie and Mr. Yitachu. Mr. Toshi Wungtong, your party of the legislators demanding that there should be an early solution is fine. Everybody is demanding an early solution. But Are you going to leave everything to the negotiators? As the state government, what is your role? Why is it, I was asking this question to everybody actually, why is it that you have failed, you means the political class, particularly since you are from the ruling party, this question will go more to you. Why have you failed in bringing the NSC and IM and the NNPGs face to face across the table? I know that you are not directly negotiating, but as the state government, as the key stakeholder, as the elected representative, you have a role to play, isn't it? Why? What is the hurdle? What are the hurdles?
Well, Mr. Wasbir, whether it is a closed chest or open chest, you must remember that the core issue of negotiations on the issues were between the stakeholders, that is the Naga political groups, and then the government of India. Similarly, as an elementary tool, ceasefire was between the armed groups and the government of India. Whether it is ceasefire ground rules, whether it is the expected roadmap that was to be laid out, was absolutely the dispensation of the government. As I said earlier, that is the nodal authority, Government of India Home Ministry, vis-a-vis the PMO, also the Naga political groups. However, all this while, you must also appreciate the fact that successive popular houses have gone out of the way to explore ways and means to see if any windows can be given to us, any positions can be given to us to facilitate. And that's what we've been doing. So even now, if there are any decisions for us to directly involve, most welcome. It is up to the authority, the central government, and also the negotiating group. However, they must both remember that we are people's representatives. So as people's representative, we do also have a voice, direct voice to say so. So I think there has to be an in-depth, a more comprehensive issue perhaps between the government of India, the NNPG, and also the elected members. This has to be arrived at.
Okay, Mr.
You must also at the same time remember that there are certain issues.
Right.
There are certain issues which we all honor and respect. For example, you're talking about the IM group and then the NMG group vis-a-vis the government of India. Not only should we be pointing fingers as why the NNC, IM, and the NNPG and IM cannot come together. There are certain issues even before the government of India and also the NS and IM vis-a-vis the political groups. Issues which we unfortunately didn't hear. It wasn't very audible.
No, my question is, Mr. I got your point. I got your point, Mr. Toshi. I'm coming to Mr. Therie, but I got your point, Mr. Toshi. But very quickly, is your role only ends at demanding an early solution to the Naga problem?
Well, if it's all like, it has to be subjective. If you are required to be so in the Naga political issue, why not? But at the same time, if space is to be given to us also to go out of the way, not just only solution, but if there are any ways, if there are any modalities as to where we can be involved. As I said, it's up to the central government and also the NBG group as people's representatives. So I suppose more discussions, more heart-to-heart discussions, more open-mindedness discussions are required to explore the hurdles and also the shortcomings.
Now, Mr. Therie and Mr. Yitachu, first I'm coming to you, Mr. Therie. Mr. Therie, do you get a sense somewhere that the discussions have gone little off track? Because you see the governor of Nagaland, who is also the peace interlocutor, he seems to be directly blaming certain people responsible for the delay, for the undue delay in getting Naga peace accord signed. And he has been quite tough. He is mincing no words. Of course, that has been his characteristic style. That's a different story. But he has been accusing certain people and it is not very difficult to guess who he may be referring to. What do you get a sense that somewhere something has gone wrong?
Well, we are stakeholders, not players in the negotiation, but understanding the framework of agreement and also the points agreed between Government of India and the Naga national political groups. Beyond that, we are unable to speak because we cannot correct the framework agreement or the agreed points. I think be it elected member or anybody, we should speak within that limit. Why should we now bring something which is out of our authority? I think when I say about integration is no more an issue, this doesn't refer that Congress has given away, but when the negotiation teams have given away, what can I say? What can they others say? When the negotiation, when the framework agreement doesn't speak, when the reach point agreements doesn't speak, then why should the State Assembly or me or anybody now interfere? Whatever has been agreed between the group, they should be implemented. This is what my demand is. And when there is nothing more to talk about Nagas of Nagaland, as per the interlocutor and government of India, why they should not implement the solution and why the state government should delay. The state government is responsible for delaying. Because they are demanded inclusive.
State government is responsible. I will ask the state government ruling party representatives to respond. But Mr. Yitachu, do you also hold a similar view as what Mr. Therie is saying, that the state government is responsible?
You say, Mr. Wasbir, before I come to your question, I don't agree with what my friend Mmhonlumo was stating, that election for solution is just a mere rhetoric. That was a very catchy word for the Naga people to go for election, because every Naga dreamed to bring about solutions. And when a major political parties bringing out a slogan that election for solution, then every Naga who wants peace to reign, they have come forward, and today they are in power. They have to stand by what they have committed to the people. Now, on the other hand, I wanted to say is that the Naga people, particularly the assembly, bringing in all the Naga contiguous area into one administrative platform. That is the desire of the people. Every candidate, every party, they come up in their manifesto, they go for election, and that is the reason why the Nagaland Assembly has passed as many as 6 resolutions in 1964, in 1970, in 1994, in 2003, in 2015, and even in 2018. So the desire of the people, the leader has to represent and has to spell out. We, MPF, I said earlier that we have a very consistent approach. So we are, as a facilitator, we even want our ruling disposition friends to implement their election for solution. So we have gone on our own to meet the NSN-IM, the 7 NNPGs, and even recently the NSN-K of Nikki Group to come together and sit across. And we are happy that they have agreed to come.
Point noted, Mr. Yitachu, point noted. Yes, Dr. Mao, you know, 24 years of negotiations, and we have arrived at this particular stage. Now, people are still trying. You see, the church tried to reconcile, to bring about a reconciliation among the various Naga groups. There was an organization by that name. Now today also, as you have heard Mr. Yitachu saying that the NPF is, that is what they are doing. They are trying to unify all the Naga political groups into some kind of a common platform, so that, you know, we can have their signatures, we can have all their signatures after agreement into that piece of paper. That is not happening. Now, how do you think we will resolve these differences? Do you think it is going to take us many more years to bring about a common approach. What do you think?
Well, Wasbir, the main hurdle or the main problem to my mind is that unfortunately Nagas are too narrow-minded, too sectarian on party line, and they have a typical tribal outlook. This has blocked for the further progress. And in order to resolve, all parties should give up their narrow party consideration, including even NNPGs and NSNIM. And there should be comprehensive involvement. And the public good and the public welfare should precede all narrow consideration. Then I think holistic, based on what is really good, reasonable, and rational, can be settled. And for that,
Right. Now,
it is not only
now let me ask. Right. Let me ask.
India.
Let me
Both
ask.
have to come to the middle ground.
Right. Let me ask a direct question to Mr. Toshi Wungtong, as well as yes, Mmhonlumo. Yes, Mr. Kikon, carry on. Mmhonlumo. Yeah.
Let me respond once, because this is a very important point. In 1998 and in 2017, if you compare the two situations, you will be clear that election for solution was a response to the question being asked to the BJP, because the NPF had passed a resolution in the assembly where it is said that we will request the election to be postponed. Now, if they are of the opinion that this was a response and we have not honored that statement, then in the very first place, why did they contest the election if they were not interested in the election? Election for solution was not a slogan. It was just a response to the cry at that point of time by NPF.
Mr. Mmhonlumo Kikon.
Number one. Number two, let me just make a point.
Mr. Kikon, can we not go into political rhetorics? Can we address some of the direct issues? Now, I have got a very specific question.
This was being brought again and again by Yitachu, and you had given him enough time to make his statement. Therefore, I was just responding. Sorry, but let me just get back to the point made by Therie. With due respect, since 2003 till date, he was also, in 2003, he was part of the state government. Then therein also they have passed a resolution on the same Naga issue. So today the position cannot be different just because he has changed the party from NPF to Congress. That has to be very clear. The stand of the Nagaland Legislative Assembly is out there for everyone to read. But whereas today, if you see various challenges that have occurred, because you have mentioned some of the responses of the government of India, various challenges that have occurred has been addressed proactively, facilitated wherever required by the government of the day. I would like to mention that.
Okay. I am running absolutely short of time, but I have to ask this direct question. You see, we cannot deny. This question goes to you, Mr. Toshi Wungtong, because you represent NDPP. The ruling party there. Now my question is to you, Mr. Wungtong, that no one can deny the fact that the governor and interlocutor, Mr. Ravi, had played a very critical role in pushing ahead with the peace talks and the peace process. But now that a particular group, that is the NSCNIM, has openly demanded that the interlocutor should be changed, that a new interlocutor should be appointed. Do you think, this is one of the reasons why the peace process may not progress as desired in the days ahead? Because one participating group has openly, this does not reflect, I am not saying that, I am not casting any aspersions on the capability of Mr. R.N. Ravi. I am not saying anything. I am just asking a straight question that now that one of the participating groups has demanded that the interlocutor should be changed, do you think the government has to think about that? Do you think the peace process can go ahead as normal, as if nothing has happened?
Thank you, Mr. Wasbir. Whether the governor has changed or not, the issue must go on and peace process must come.
Yes.
Now, as far as the issues between the governor and then the NSNIM is concerned, you would also have to involve the third party, that is the government of India. I think you would get a fairer view from all the three groups, and also we would like to know more. As you asked me this question, I would also like to say, would also like to know more about the discussions and also the progress of discussions that took place since the 3rd of August 2015, and also at the agreed position with the NNBG on the 17th of November 2017. So these are issues where I would rather counterpose to the government of India and also with the negotiating groups and also the governor. One. The other point, Mr. Wasbir, is you must also understand the difficulties in both sides, both for the government of India and also whether it is the NSNIM or the NNBG group. You must also understand the long history of the Naga struggle. Now, you talk about, let's say, for instance, the flag. Now, the banner flag is a very powerful tool. The politics and power is history, as Tim Marshall would say, is worth dying for. So all these years of struggle of 70 years is something which government of India has honored and must honor to come to some conclusion.
Okay.
That's why I think understanding both the positions are very clear. I think the governor also is of the view, basing on the government of India stand, and also the NSNIM, basing on the long issue of the past 70 years.
Right.
However, we are all aware about the possibilities and also unpossibilities at the moment.
Absolutely, Mr. Wungtong. I'll have to shorten. I cut you short only for the lack of time, not for anything else. Mr. Yitachu, final comments from you, Mr. Yitachu, very briefly.
Mr. Wasbir, as far as we can foresee the Naga issue is concerned, here the issue is about the Naga people involving their history and sentiment. And a lot of sacrifices has been made.
Right.
These are very delicate issues with the people. And
absolutely.
Careful handling.
Careful handling.
Government of India.
Careful handling is necessary. Careful handling necessary.
It has to be very careful.
Absolutely. Final 10 seconds. Final 10 seconds to you, Mr. Therie. 10 seconds to you. Final, last. How do you see the road ahead? Are you optimistic or not?
Yes. The stakeholders' view, the welfare of the stakeholders' view is the final law in democracy. And now that the framework agreement and reach point agreements are already there, Government of India should proclaim the solution and implement. I think it should be strong enough, determined enough to solve the problem.
Solve the problem, people, implement the problem. Solve and implement. Solve and implement. 10 seconds to you. 10 seconds, Dr. Xavier Mao. Final word. 10 seconds. Very quickly.
Yeah. Well, the government of India, in order to have a meaningful dialogue and conclusion, they should not force upon the NSNIM to accept Ravi, because Ravi has a lot of limitation as holding constitutional post.
All right.
Therefore, any meaningful dialogue to take place, there should be mutual respect.
Okay, that is, Government of India knows what it is doing. We have to wait for the Government of India's counsel. I don't want to make a comment on that. Of course, you are entitled to your views. At the end of this day, this is not the last word that we had heard on the Naga peace issue, but there are different points of view, and it is a challenge for both the negotiating team, the stakeholders, as well as the Naga political groups to rise above everything else and reach a common ground. Only then we can hope to achieve or see the accord happening in the days ahead. On this note, I end this edition of Northeast Tonight. I thank all my panelists for participating in the program and the viewers for watching the show. Good night and goodbye.